Ragazzi, buongiorno. Welcome back to Jashi. Different location today. We are at G Vino in Leesburg. This is an Italian friend of mine. Marius was fantastic and let us in and gave us this whole area. We never do it standing, but I guess today we're gonna do it this way. I think I like the whole vibe and everything. And today I'm with Anna and Dave. Anna is a person that we've been in contact to TikTok in the past 2 years because she agrees and I agree with many of what the things that she says and she agrees with what I say. And now I understand why, because I just met Dave. Guys, in today's episode, we're going to talk about some topics that you hear often, but a different perspective. Normally, these podcasts are mostly American. Today, we have an American perspective from a person who actually works in this sector, and also from a Romanian. So both ways, you have the Italian, you know me, I'm very straight to the point and direct. I'm sorry for the snowflakes, but that's the way it goes. Guys, before we start, who the hell are you? So you did motorsport. We were walking here. We were just walking. He was telling me a story. He did motorsports. He likes cars. And then he said, yeah, and I coach men. And it happened randomly through forums 20 years ago. How did you get there? Why did you get into that though?
Well, it kind of started with college friends asking me for help. Like, hey, how are you able to do this? How can you get girls? And it kind of started on like that really basic, rudimentary guy kind of thing. Like, let's get girls, right? And
so you had girls.
So we had girls. That was not
he's good with girls.
So. Oh, yes. And now I have my wife.
Now you're good. Now you're retired.
I'm good. I'm retired, right?
Okay.
But it started with that, and guys kind of started seeking out my knowledge, a little bit about business because I had a little business experience back then.
I mean, we were handling teams, motorsports and stuff.
Yes.
That's probably one of the hardest things to do.
Very difficult.
Race drivers are a pain.
The logistics all over the country.
Lots of testosterone in that.
Yeah.
Mamma mia.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's kind of how it started, and that's a very brief background, right? And then it kind of transformed into a global coaching company over time.
Global. So you have people all around the world.
All around the world, from Australia to China to Japan to South America, North America, India, the Middle East.
Mostly men.
Europe.
All men. Mostly men. Do you think that men need help right now?
They
more than ever
desperately need help right now. And unfortunately, they do not know where to get proper help. There's a lot of really bad advice out there. And guys keep repeating the same bad advice over and over again.
Because here's the thing, I mean, I was in between. I did not live with social media, but it kind of came to us later on when I was 14 and stuff. Now you have all the influencers. They put out advice and stuff.
Yes.
Do you think that the top influencers out there are putting out good advice? Do you think an average is good? Do you think it's all a scam? What is your point of view on that?
My point of view on influencers is they are going after clicks, most of them.
Okay.
Right? So they're creating great clickbaity titles and buzzword kind of things. But behind that facade, there's no depth. So there's no great understanding of what's really going on in the dynamics from an energetic perspective, from a true masculine perspective. There's a lot of drama out there. Drama, yeah.
Comedy? What do you mean with drama?
So an energetic drama that actually creates a negative experience at the end of the day.
Okay.
It's not something that's fun. It's not like in a movie. It's almost tension grabbing in a negative way.
Can I give you an example?
Go ahead.
Sure.
Yes.
So they'll be like, oh, all women are bad, or all women are, they want your money, or they go like, oh my God, we're such victims to women, and da da da, and like everything happens to them, not because of them. In that sense, drama. In the sense.
Okay, let me stop you. Sorry. So you're saying that the perspective you see on the messages out there is the man being actually the victim.
Yes, of women.
Okay, interesting. She said it. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not saying that all women are good, but not all men are good either. So
Exactly.
So here's my little idea on this. I believe that if you have issues with women, it's not the women, it's you. That's my point of view. But
Yeah,
to
I
be
mean,
very
that's-
straight to this.
Yeah.
That's 100% true.
So most of the stuff you see around, you think is mostly for clicks, is not actual good advice, is nothing good.
There are bits and pieces out there that it's good information, but the way it's being displayed and put out there, it can be twisted and misconstrued and
Okay.
used incorrectly by guys.
What about the role of family? Because 18, no, not 18, let's say 14 years of my life, the advice I saw on both sides was my mother, my father, a couple of friends, then you get into teen years and that's mostly friends. Having a sister definitely helped me understand the other
Yes,
side. Mamma
yes.
mia. She was, she could not go out if I wasn't there, so I was always dragging her around, even if she didn't want to go out. She was helping me manage clubs and stuff at a young
Excellent.
age. Yeah, it was crazy, but
It's funny you manage clubs. I did a little bit of that myself.
yes.
So-
But what I'm saying is, like, most of the advice derived from that. Is that happening here too? Is that route being abandoned? Like, tell me about the average male experience here.
I feel in America, there's a lot of absent fathers.
Okay.
There's fathers that are not there for the family. Some fathers who really want to be there for the family but can't because of working all the time.
Okay.
You have this other thing that's going on. I mean, the divorce rate is pretty large here in America.
I also learned that in Italy is very similar to the American one.
Yes.
I used to point the finger, but I'm like, I should shut up on this because
And I
it's
saw
neck and neck.
something-
I don't know about Romania. I think you're better off.
A little bit, but not because they wouldn't want to be divorced, but because they're afraid of the judgment from the family and society for being divorced. It's down looked upon.
It is in Italy too. I will just put a little parenthesis here. I think that the Italian judgment, from some perspective, and not only divorce, but many things, keeps society a little bit in check on some things.
Yes.
Although it's so exaggerated in some things that it destroys creativity in humans. That's why I love America. I mean, I would have never started a TikTok if I was in Italy.
Oh,
Never.
Can you imagine?
Whoa, never.
Yeah, the judgment would be intense, huh?
I mean, you married a Romanian woman.
Yeah,
I'm
I
getting a
I
lot
know
of
about
hate.
judgment.
I'm getting a lot of hate.
Why?
On TikTok? A lot.
From
From my Romanian people, from Romanian that watch my content, they're like, "Oh, go back to the countryside," and da 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 da. So I know about judgment.
Exactly. No, I was saying, why? For being in America?
Yes, for being in America and for speaking English. I'm like, well, what's your problem? And they're like, "Oh, you're showing us that you're better." I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just expressing myself. You know,
Just giving you a perspective.
Yeah, but
Just
that's
giving you
your,
a perspective. What can I same thing? It's all pretty much all of
Yeah.
Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they will sell a kidney without saying it to come to America. That's pretty much how it goes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it plays a role. There is a lack of them quite often, either because of divorce or because of work.
Yes.
My father was working a lot too, though.
Yes.
A lot.
There, when you go to Romania or you go to Italy, a lot of Europe works a lot as well. But I don't know that the amount of work is the same as here in the U.S.
Okay.
I mean, it's to the point that the people are ultimately dying
For
because of
overwork.
poor health, for work to make the money, and that's not acceptable. And that has a breakdown. When we're talking about family, that has a breakdown across the whole fabric of society.
Okay.
And that causes men to be wandering around without any kind of, leadership in their formative years from the father. It creates emotionally erratic women that treat their son with a world of emotions that is just so chaotic that he can't figure out exactly what's going on with her. So what he'll do is try to match her emotions to calm her down. And that creates what's called the nice guy syndrome.
The
Where-
nice guy syndrome.
Where this guy, he tries to please people all the time and make everybody happy. And we know,
Okay.
especially you as a business guy, we cannot make people happy. We can only make ourselves happy.
True.
And
True.
this
Nice
sort
guy
of man,
syndrome. Nice guy syndrome.
yeah, this sort of man is all through American society right now.
Do the nice guys often show up at your desk?
It's pretty much all I work with.
Can you define me what a nice guy is, on top of what you just said? Can you please describe it more?
Sure. So what he's going to do is he's going to monitor your emotions. He's going to be looking at you, or let's just say he's looking at a woman. He's going to be reading her face. He's going to be looking at everything she's doing, a constant sense of approval because he cannot self-validate himself. He's always looking outside to other people to be like, am I good enough? Did I do this right? Did I please you? And he'll also attach, like the worst of them, will attach, in a sense, an unwritten contract on the back end where he will come in and say, well, I did this for you and you're not going to take care of me.
They see people like a transaction, pretty much.
Yes.
I give you
But
this,
it-
you give me this.
but
Indirectly. It's just one-sided.
It's one-sided, and it's more of an emotional contract. Sometimes it'll start as an emotional contract, but
Okay.
it'll lead to like something physical in the end.
Okay, so it can lead to physical. Does it often lead to physical?
Not always,
Okay.
but it can.
Okay, interesting.
Oh, I have an example. The one where you surely heard about those people like, oh, he was such a nice guy, and all of a sudden he killed his wife. You know those stories? That's
Normally
like extreme.
in Italy also goes on with, he was such a nice guy, he was always saying hello to everybody in the neighborhood, and he killed the wife.
Yeah.
That's how it
So
normally
that's
So that's
kind of sad though.
that's when you look at a lot of mass shootings that happen in America, right? It's kind of something, I know they happen around the world, but America, and most of those are men. I don't know many recently that have ever been women,
Nope.
and most of those men are considered nice guys. You'll see in
Like
the
people
paper-
would have never expected that. That's what
exactly
you're
like
saying.
you're saying. Oh, he's so nice to everyone. Well, what he's doing is he's repressing all of the things that he wants to be in himself to a very dangerous level that creates a psychosis that leads to events like that.
Okay, cazzo. Cazzo. So if I see somebody's too nice, I have to be careful.
Be careful. Be careful.
If they always defend it, always helps. Always.
If you were to give a percentage of the men here, because I mean, you see them every day.
Yeah. Well,
And, Is it mostly young people that you see? Is it?
no, I see this happening a lot with divorced men.
Okay.
Believe it or not. I've worked with a lot of divorced men, and when I really am able to get down and figure out what it is at the core that's causing this divorce or the past divorce to happen, it's always this nice guy syndrome. He's always trying to please his wife.
Okay.
And men have this issue where they cannot say no to a woman. They've been taught.
They're taught to not be able to say no. That's what
not
you're
to be
saying.
able to know, not to be able to say no, to always please, always be nice and sweet. Well, at the end of the day, women don't want that in a long-term relationship.
I want to go towards you. I mean, you've been married 3 years. You said.
Yeah.
How long have you been together before that?
Six years.
Okay, so I guess you met other men before and had
Yeah.
experiences.
Yeah.
Have you ever experienced, also in friendships, talking to other people like this that were not able to? What was your thought of that? Like, explain your point of view as a woman.
So I personally never had a partner like that because I just my man, right? But
Do you notice it immediately?
I'm a pretty good reader of character because
Okay.
of my life and job experience
Okay.
up to date. So I can pretty easily tell if somebody's who they seem to be or not, or if there's somebody I want to be around, friends or not with. However, I had people around me, acquaintances, if you will, that were like that, and it's rather annoying because you ask them, "Hey, what do you want to do today? Whatever you want. What do you want? Whatever you want." Like, it's just so annoying. It's like, have an opinion, because as a woman, it's really tiring to always have to make decisions, right? And even if you're another girl trying to decide plans for the weekend,
Mhm.
you want to co-share. You don't always want to be, because you'll choose for them and then they'll hate it and then they'll resent you on the back end, especially if it's a woman. Oh my God, it's just maddening.
So even among women friends.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that's what you're saying.
Yeah. But
And they're able. Do you think that on average women can sense this immediately? This is a nice guy. This is a true man. This is a. Do you think
so
it takes
if
a
she's
second?
a mentally healthy woman,
Okay.
yes. If
She's
she's
a
a
mentally healthy
and
woman.
emotionally,
That is quite a
healthy.
statement.
I have to say, and ladies, excuse me, you'll hate me, but it's the truth. most women are not mentally and emotionally balanced and well-rounded. You're
mentally, emotionally balanced and well-rounded. Okay.
Because a woman, and I'm not playing the advocate for women or poor women, but women have such a bad habit of trying to please everybody. Most women are people pleasers.
Yeah.
And then they always try to convey the world around them, and if they're not developing themselves and knowing who they are and knowing what they want, they're gonna end up this psychotic, women, and that nobody really wants to be around. They'll marry this submissive guy that's gonna be, under her shoe at all time, and
leave him after a few years.
yeah,
turn into a cat lady.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Okay. Because it's a dynamic, it's a complete other parenthesis. I noticed in many of the relationships with my friends around, but even in my past relationships, I don't know if it's a way of testing or it's just nature, a woman trying to control a guy. Now, if he keeps on falling for it and becomes a nice guy, he gets left after a while.
Mm-hmm.
If he stands for it, she's pissed in the moment, but she keeps on staying with him. You understand? You understand what I explain?
Yes.
I can definitely explain that for
So
you.
what happens there is
very hard to explain.
No, it's very easy.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's very easy.
So,
say it from your perspective, and then I'll say it from the guy's
Perfect.
perspective.
I made a question for everybody. Marius is watching.
Back there taking notes.
So one would do that because, again, an emotionally unstable woman that has no control over her life is always going to try to find some sort of control. And how do you do that? You make children and you control them. You get a partner and you control him. And that's making her in response more annoyed and pissed and angry because she has to keep giving directions, lead, and control to somebody that accepted that. And then she's like, oh, he's not the man, he's never showing up because she trained him to be like that. And then if he doesn't fall in her net, then it's the unconquered prize, right? I need to, if I don't get him, I don't prove myself to me. If I can't be with him or, make him be mine, then as a woman, I failed. And, they have low self-esteem and they find, approval, they find value for themselves through other people.
Okay.
Your typical stably emotional woman would be fine with herself. She doesn't need to control, like, I'm too busy. Start trying to take control of Dave's life. Like, I'm my own project. I don't need to make him my project. I'm fine. Like, that's a lot of work. And I'm not willing to put it in anybody, not because I don't love him to death. It's because that's not the purpose of being in a relationship. The control, or him controlling me.
Okay.
We are in a beautiful relationship from the beginning where he has so much freedom and I have so much. And that's the only reason we're married, because before him I was like, I'll never get married. I don't want to be trapped. I don't want to be controlled. But with him, I have all the freedom I want.
Okay,
well,
that's
and
beautiful.
trust.
And that is something that's really common in Eastern European culture, right? Is the man dominating the woman.
Yes, very much so.
To the point that it's bad. Now, from the guy's perspective of what she's looking for, his job is to lead the interactions, make the decisions, not all decisions, but, play back and forth. His job is to actually, be the head of the household when if there's a family involved, set the example for the sons and the daughters, make sure she's taken care of emotionally. And also that she, if it's a family, provided and protected.
Okay.
And even as, we have decided we're not having children, right? And so we are our family. And, my job is to make sure that she feels emotionally and physically safe at all times. And how do we do that? We do that with what's called a container. And a container is an invisible, energetic experience that you have with another person. Like, we have a little container going on right here.
Mm-hmm.
It's very rare that we've been paying attention to anything out here, even people coming in, because we're so absorbed in what we're doing. And this type of human connection is really critical for women. And it's very important for them to feel safe by having this experience. And it can be something as simple as a little eye gaze with her. It can be as simple as a hug. It can be something as simple as she's having a bad day. You're like, babe, I got this, right? And that is what so many men are missing. They don't want to step up to the plate and be like, hey, I'm the man of this relationship. I'm the man of this family. And it is my job to make sure everyone is protected, taken care of, emotionally, physically, and it has everything that they're needing within reason. And that's what our job is to provide that experience, because a lot of women walk around the world in a lot of fear, because
I bet.
It's unsafe.
I want to see you in downtown Washington walking alone.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, so I've been to many countries. US is the most dangerous country I've been in to this day. I felt more safe in Turkey. I felt more safe in Eastern Europe walking alone at night than I feel in the US.
For me, it depends. Like, there are some places in Rome
Sure.
where I shit my pants.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, in DC, I can be some areas of DC and I still be less fearful than Rome. It depends. Because in America, at least I know I can react. In Italy, you can't.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like that in Europe. Family is important. Family, the importance of family. The father figure, the nice guy.
Yeah.
So we get a lot of the teachings and how to be a man from family. When we don't have it, it comes from education. Let's switch to that education system in America. You're American, you're Romanian, I'm Italian. I'm gonna just give an intro of how my system works, then I'm gonna switch to yours, and then to...
Perfect.
In Italy, I believe it was easier to study in Italy. Sorry, it is easier to work in corporate America than to go to high school in Italy.
I believe that.
Okay, I went to a German school in Italy. Mix Italian fascism and a concentration camp from Germany, put them together, and that's the school I went to. Okay?
Sounds like our school.
Pretty much that. That is, I speak 5 languages, amazing. I was destroyed. The concept of Italian school is to destroy you so much and make you work so much that when you get into the corporate world, life is easy. Okay? Interrogations, being called in front of the class without knowing shit and being interrogated about what happened the past week, you knowing nothing. And this is why Italians are good salesmen, because you give us this much of information and we yari bullshit our way through everything. So that's the way we learn. Okay.
Perfect.
I passed, not amazing grades, but pretty good for the standard. Going to college was a joke compared to that school. And then I came to America and life was easy. Life was easy.
Life is very easy in America.
Romania, depends. Romania.
So I went to a highly elite high school.
Mm-hmm.
It was number 1 in the country when I finished. So high demands on all points. I did half of my high school studied in French.
Mm-hmm.
So it was Romanian and French.
French.
Yes, I speak better French than English actually. I speak several languages. But going back to high school.
I don't want to know what's going in your head.
It's
mine is messed.
Well, yeah, if you start mixing Spanish, Italian, and Portuguese, learning all of them, which I do, at some point, so Italian stays kind of clean for me, but when I have to speak Spanish, it's all Italian and Portuguese and Spanish together. Everything just crosses references. But, so my high school was very much, very demanding.
Mm-hmm.
I had so many homeworks that I would spend the whole time after classes
4 hours a day.
Homeworks.
It's normal. It's
Yeah.
considered normal in Italy.
And then we would have on top of the homeworks additional stuff and class stuff and everything, and you had to present stuff and bring arguments. And the teacher was your biggest enemy until the 4th year of high school, and telling you how horrible you are, how stupid you are, how nothing that you're saying has any sense. Like, it made you feel so bad about yourself. But you had to prove yourself through that.
Taking that, is one main, because I also saw my brother and my sister going to school here in America the last year. So my brother came here when he was 12, my sister came here when she was 17 and finished school here. What they do in Italy is, let's say you take a B, you get a B. The teacher comes to you and says, you should have done better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is the approach in Italy. You go to America, you take a B, and the teacher tells you, if you keep on studying like this, you will get to an A. You see the difference in the message? Like in Italy, in Europe, they motivate the fuck out of you.
Yeah.
And here's like, I remember going to the celebration of graduation from middle school of my brother. And it literally looked like a college celebration. This is the future of America. It was great. Like in Italy, yo, you passed. Good thing you didn't die.
We didn't kill you.
Fuck off. I don't know, but here you come out of school and you pumped as hell. That's something that I've never seen, and I think that's why people literally think they're the shit here. That's a good thing.
Yes, yeah, to have that type of positive self-motivation, right? I think it's really cool.
Does it work though?
That's an interesting question, and it's a very unique perspective that you have, because me being born and raised here and growing up here, that's just normal. So
I love it.
For me to hear that and hear what you guys went through, which I mean I know about your schooling, but to hear what you went through as well, like wow, that's I mean
for me it was a blessing.
It is.
Like I'm glad it happened.
It is. It is a blessing, because the education system in America is horrid, in my opinion.
Why do you say so? First in content, and then we're gonna go back into the whole family teachings and stuff. Go for it.
Well, first in content, like let's start with elementary, middle, and high school.
Okay.
All of the school systems have an agenda to not be taken over by the state in America. The agenda is to have them pass a standardized test so that the school gets good marks, school as a whole gets good marks, and the state is not coming over to take over that school. Okay. Because if the kids are not passing the standardized test, the school's taken over.
Taking over, what does it mean?
Meaning that the state educators, they come in and they run the school then. It's not so much private. Okay. And so the problem is the education has a curriculum that's suited only to pass those tests, nothing else.
Why not change the test?
It's not my decision.
Yeah,
I personally don't think we should have a test that every student is geared toward passing just so the state doesn't come and take over the school. Okay. It kills creativity. Creativity kills opportunity. In school when I was going, we had vocational programs. So you could learn how to be a welder, an electrician, a car mechanic, very important, a carpenter, very important skills that are needed today. Not every student wants to go and do math and science. Not every student wants to read literature. Not every student wants to do art. And that's a whole other thing. Like I'm a passionate person about art, the art programs in America. And art is severely looked down on in America, in my opinion.
I mean, if fine arts, talking to an Italian. I mean, we have a perfect example right here. There's Marius, right? Okay, he is young, and unlike a lot of his peers, this guy chose a path that is very unusual, which is mixology, and now we went into wine.
Yeah,
and he's literally the only guy my age that is doing this kind of stuff in America. I feel like he'll be one of the very few, and it's not talked about. I think it's something beautiful, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's great, and
he's crying.
Yes, it's going to be okay. But that is the beautiful thing about America. He can go and make a career out of his passion.
Yes, but it's not taught.
But it's
not taught that there's so many other ways to do stuff.
Exactly, and that gets me back to that standardization. That pigeonholes kids into thinking less creatively, less critically, and causes issues that we're having today.
Like confusion,
not knowing what to do, not knowing who they are, not being able to express ultimately what they really want. Instead, we have a crybaby society now that everybody is, entitled to everything, and that's not the case. No.
And the other thing,
in the American school system, people think they are.
Is that a message that's giving out?
Yes, I see it everywhere. The entitlement is unbelievable.
To me, it was the introduction of the participation method. I never knew what that was.
Okay.
Then I came here, and it kind of got me. I was like, in Italy, if you're second, you're considered the first of the last.
Yeah.
That's what we say.
The first loser, right?
The first loser.
Yeah.
That's what we say.
Yeah.
You're the first loser. You lost.
Yeah.
That's pretty harsh, but I don't know. Points of view. I mean, back onto the whole thing, you should do better. Keep on going, you gotta get an A. I mean, it's two different approaches. So.
It is, but I find that the approach that you guys experienced a little more intense, which I really appreciate that, because the level of education when I look at university in Europe versus America, unless it's a high-end school in America, the amount of work required and the knowledge required, it just is not the same.
But the main difference, though, that in America your degree is respected and gets you somewhere, while in Europe it's not.
True.
So
This is true.
it has
This is
ups
true.
and downs.
It is a tool, like you're saying.
Here's an investment.
Yeah, it
there
is.
you do
It
it
is.
because everybody's doing it. It's like
Yeah.
a minimum requirement.
And then I know, depending on like where you're going to school in Europe, most of it's paid for, right?
Most of it, you always have to pay, but it's like $1,000 a year.
Yeah, well, that's nothing.
I did
right?
it for free.
Yeah.
It was all
Okay,
subsidized by the
okay.
government. So.
I have asshole written on my forehead, so I have to pay. So, no.
But I appreciate the kind of regimented, strict style of schooling that you guys went through, because I just think it produces a better product at the end of the day.
It produces a well prepared, but
but emotionally damaged.
Yes, but unmotivated person.
Unmotivated. Okay.
A very unmotivated person in most cases. So what happens is this: you have two kind of people, and I saw this with my sister. My sister was the shyest person in the world. She was so destroyed by the school that even when it came to ordering food at a restaurant in Italy, she would come to me and have me order. That's how shy she was of speaking. Then she came to America. What the United States did to her on the motivation side in 1.5 years of schooling, and then she joined what's the pre-military program?
ROTC.
ROTC. She then became National Guard. She went to artillery. Now she works in DEA.
Awesome.
The switch I saw through the American system that motivated her and gave her good grades and pushed her by motivating the hell out of her. Crazy. If I was here, I probably would have become softer. So to me, the Italian system fortified me because my approach was like, you know what, fuck you, teacher, I'm gonna show you. Okay.
Yeah,
But to my sister, destroyed her. So
appreciate.
Going back to the standardization, is standardization the right way to go? Because to some people it could be perfect, to others it could be a crappy system. That's the hard thing of education.
It is. I think it should be kind of a blended system. I mean, there's got to be ways to determine how different students are learning, in a way of testing that. And I think that if we can have some type of blended system, you could, the kids that do well with structure, have that standardization for them, because they're going to be your engineers, they're going to be your scientists, they're going to be your chemists, right? And kids that can bounce between the two, who knows, that maybe they could be, an opera singer, or they could work, as a car mechanic, right? There's people that can go, both of those ways. And then you have people that are just fully creative.
True. You can have a mix. You can have a mix of everything, honestly. Or some people, like when people tell me on TikTok, niche, you gotta niche down. I tell them to fuck off. Niche down this. I'm so curious about everything that I can't.
Niche down, pigeonhole yourself. You become boring and irrelevant one day.
No, yes,
right?
I keep on open. Do you think that school should be public? Because you went to elite and you went, it definitely helped you out a lot. Do you think it should be public, or do you think it should be private and subsidized by the government?
So I think there's a difference of understanding what private and public are from one country to another. In Romania, if you say I've been to a private school, you are the shame of the worst in the country.
Because it's quicker.
It's quicker, it's easy. Yeah. So nobody wants to hire you, nobody wants to deal with you because you have a cheap grade, even though you pay a lot of money to go to those private schools, and they're like, oh, or the French school or the whatever. No value.
In America, it's an investment.
Here's the difference. So if you ask me, in Romania, I still think things should stay public because of how the system is organized. I think it works for the country. Here, the problem I see here is it's hard for everybody to get an education that wants to get education. I'm saying that there are people that probably have all the mental capacity to study at Harvard. They're very smart. However, they don't have any support from the financial side. They can't.
That is quite a lot, actually. So I built an entire course for Italians on how to move to the United States. Like the whole process. Yeah, it's like 8 hours of content. Went down a rabbit hole for 2 months and built that thing. And one of the modules I created was about exactly universities. And Italians are kind of broke, even a rich Italian. If you tell them, yeah, Harvard is 80 grand a year, they're going to spit in your face on average. However, I went through the whole rabbit hole of student loans and specifically also scholarships. And I mean, nobody talks about it, but there's quite a load of them, like
Yes.
400,000 different kinds of scholarships. So
Oh, okay.
there's quite a lot of option. The problem is they're not teaching you that. You think that's the only option, but there's still
Yeah,
not paying
yeah,
cash.
yeah,
So
I
that
can
is
know
money.
that.
There's so
There's
much
money.
money available for education here.
Buy
By scholarship,
Even
and
from European
grants.
entities.
Yeah.
Even from European entities. What is the normal message that is being put out? Well, I mean, we were talking about entitlement, and then we're going to switch to the last one. But what other messages are being put out by education that I think are damaging towards men specifically?
Towards men specifically.
Yeah, I'm asking towards men because you're a male coach.
That's an interesting question. I think for the boys, we've gotten away from rough sports, right? Everything's softer, easier.
Football is still pretty harsh.
Yeah, football is great. I love football programs. We're not allowing, but we're having boys being coddled too much and not challenged in a way that they should be challenged as boys. Because as men, all of us are growing through challenge. That's how our masculinity grows. That's how our confidence grows. That's how we're able to go out and take on the world.
Mm-hmm.
But as sports get softer and softer in America and completely removed from some programs, what do boys have to look up to? There's not a lot. And so that's why the football programs are really good. That's why the wrestling programs are really good. Baseball, that's a great American sport, right? Weightlifting programs, a lot of this
School
stuff.
gives them?
Weightlifting?
Yes.
He did it.
Yeah, I did a lot of weightlifting in high
Okay,
school, and yeah,
okay.
it's a part of the curriculum, which is really cool. I still believe it's going on today, and I love that because it teaches health and responsibility and commitment and consistency, right? To get that growth, right? Consistency is super important. I just think we're letting kids off the hook too easily these days.
We're
allowing them to be coddled, to start developing this entitlement that just because they show up, they get something. You know,
Half of the job is showing up. That's what the funny thing is. If you show up, even like at the gym, if you show up, you're gonna end up doing your weightlifting.
Exactly.
You just drove 30 minutes. You gotta do the weightlifting.
Yeah, exactly. And that's that is one thing that's critically important. You have to show up. So just showing up is great, but what I was getting to was we're getting trophies now for just showing up.
Okay.
You should not be getting a trophy for just showing up. You should be getting a trophy for actually winning something, for rising above the common guy and getting to a place that most people don't. That's how we get the rewards in business. Mm-hmm. That's how we win in motorsports, right? Like nobody's giving anybody money, right? Let's like talk about motorsports. Nobody's giving any money to fifth place finishers, right?
Nope.
It barely any money to first place, depending on what you're doing. Yep. But you look at F1, like the money is on the podium, 1, 2, and 3. And what is the reward? Like if everybody showed up and got the same amount of money on the podium winners,
nobody will race anymore.
Nobody race anymore, right? So competition's really critical for boys.
I believe in Formula 1 is game, so I don't like all these
rules.
This is true.
I want to see Senna almost killing some other driver. That was true sport.
I saw a video of him the other day. There was a track marshal that came out onto the track. He gets out of his car and punches him in the face.
Super cool.
And then starts kicking him. I was like, that dude is amazing.
Yes.
We need that back in our culture. We need Senna.
Yes, I agree with that. Yes,
yeah,
I approve this. I'm Yashi and approve this message. Mamma mia. No, how do you teach discipline in school? I know this. I wanted to go into the other argument, but I mean, the education one is quite an important one. Let me start with the late, because I think that discipline has to go both ways. Discipline can also be in relationships, especially when it's hard. How do you teach discipline?
In a relationship?
No, in life. In life. What you do in life then goes also back into the relationship.
So, I can talk only from my perspective.
Yes.
I don't know how other people do it, but for me, it's very important to get my goals and pass them always. So that requires discipline in order to get your fitness goals or your business goals or whatever you want, friendship goals. You need to have a discipline. You need to show up for yourself. You need to do the work, not back up when it's hard and be like, oh, this is becoming so hard. Well, guess what?
But how do you teach it?
How do you teach it?
How does it happen? Because we're talking about family, we're talking about education and what is happening in education. I mean, one of the main things is you need to be disciplined because it will help you. How do you teach it?
So I can.
And I want to have both perspectives.
So my family was a very strict family. We were and are very, very important locally. So I had to show up for the family as the kid since I was 4. So that meant a lot of discipline. I was sent to French lessons when I was 4 because I could read already. So like, well, you can read, you're going to French lessons. I had a schedule. I had, I was supposed to eat with books on my head and under my,
Oh, that's
so
a, I know that feeling.
Yeah, so that, and then I only had 2 weeks free my entire year in the beginning of summer holiday. Then it was all scheduled.
And this is when you were a little girl.
Yes, and it continued through my teenage years.
And now we complain about 2 weeks of PTO.
Yeah. So I think the way my mom raised it, even though I hated it as a kid, I think that's the way to impose discipline. It's you teach your kid that there's a rule, there's a regimen, there's things to do. You like them or not, you're gonna do them. I had to go to sleep at specific hours. I was not allowed to stay as long as I wanted. I had to wake up a specific hour, and that was that. And I had responsibilities, and I had even before school, I had this sort of like schedule for myself.
An agenda.
Yes, to follow, and I had to take it off once it was done. And that's how you teach discipline. Is it always fun? No, but is it fun to create people? Well, you chose to bring one into this world, so you might as well. Yeah. I mean, if I don't want to be a mom, but I would be a nasty mom if I would be one. My kids would be like.
I mean, my mother was like that.
Yeah, and it worked out perfectly.
Yeah.
Also looking my brother, my sister.
Yeah, that's the way you educate children, not the stupidity I see these days where the child just destroys a store and the parents are like, there's nothing I can do. They're expressing themselves. If I would have just stepped 1 foot out of my mom's order, I would have been annihilated, destroyed.
Okay, do you think that a little bit of physicality is
Yes.
necessary? Woo! Okay, I like that. I approve
Yes.
this too.
And I'll secondarily approve that as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Because that's how I was. as well.
You're such a toxic mask.
Yeah, I am.
What the fuck does that even mean? I have no idea.
I don't know. It's that's one of those crazy buzzwords that was created.
Physicality. We're gonna go to the last one. No, wait. We were talking about discipline. We're talking about a little bit of physicality when raising children,
Yes.
which then leads me to the last one: trauma. Dealing with trauma. Why is trauma such a big topic on American TikTok today? You hear these stories like, I've been traumatized, and then you listen to the stories like, this is the typical thing where my mother would have said, have you gone for a walk? No, go for a walk. You go for a walk and then you forgot about it. Like, why are small things considered traumas nowadays? Why is it such a big deal? And I mean, you speak to a lot of men in this regards, I guess, because a lot of things stem from trauma. Explain a little bit more.
Yeah. So as far as like true trauma, I think there's not much true trauma out there.
There's not much true trauma.
True.
Based on the stories you hear.
Yeah, based on the stories I hear.
What is true trauma? Define.
I am not a licensed psychiatrist, so I couldn't say true trauma. But
To you, your opinion.
But in my opinion, I would say, all right, let's take one of our soldiers that comes back from the battlefield with PTSD.
That is trauma.
That is true trauma, right? That is a true trauma to me.
Or
But
witnessing somebody die,
Or,
but
yeah.
you not being in the army, somebody dying in front of you.
yeah, I've seen some of that stuff in my life, and that is traumatic and it does affect you. But when I have guys come in and be like, well, my mom yelled at me when I was this age and I've just never forgave her for, and I'm like, and this is all the cause of why I can't date women and I can't trust women.
We're going on mushrooms. The
I'm
funny
like,
thing I heard, I went on mushroom, it's traumatic.
Yeah, it's just like, you kidding me. So, and that comes from these couple generations that have come after my generation here in America. America that have been raised too softly. They haven't been disciplined appropriately. There is really no discipline in the American education system or in the American family. There's very little consequence for doing anything wrong. And so anytime something slightly bad happens, there's no ability to truly deal with what is happening in a way that's like, okay, yeah, I really messed up. I should take the responsibility of me messing up and deal with it, right? I to your point, I'm all for physically disciplining kids. That it needs to happen
with parsimony, but when needed, the cavalry is needed.
Yes.
To me, it happened 5 times. I remember each one of them. Most favorite was we just arrived home, we were unpacking, and I was just sitting there. At one point, I feel like kick in my back. It was my father kicking me, and I turned around. I was like, and they were unpacking everything. I was like, I didn't do anything, and he said, exactly, because I was supposed to help him.
Yeah, you didn't do anything.
And I will remember that forever. That was the way of beautiful. Like it didn't even hurt. It was just traumatic. Like I will always remember that, but it was so well placed. It was just perfect.
Exactly, and so for example, like some of the men that I work with here in America, they would bring that to me as a true trauma. Wow, my father kicked me. I'm like, okay, well, I don't know your backstory, but you probably needed it, right? Just like that experience, like, hey, you weren't doing anything, and that's the way I was raised, right? I was raised with actually getting paddled with the wooden spoon.
Yep.
And then my dad, that wasn't good enough because I figured out how to like put my hand back, and when my mom would hit me, it would break across my wrist.
Okay.
And then I would laugh at her, so she would get even more mad. But then my dad started making these like big paddles, like full on like paddles like this big, and would just beat my ass.
Holy shit. Okay.
And I
And you're
deserved
not
it.
traumatized.
You deserved it. Like you're not saying I didn't know.
I absolutely deserved it because I was always getting in trouble. I was always running my mouth. I was always doing things that I shouldn't have been doing. And I knew that, but that in and of itself is what helped me create confidence that I have today to do all the things that I do and help other men. But that was not a trauma to me. I look at that and I laugh, and I'm so happy that my dad was doing that to me and beating me because I deserved it. Because I wasn't following the program.
You weren't following I mean, there were consequences. You learn about consequences of actions.
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
So I just wanted to add a little bit on that. I think that they are also traumatized because, coming from Eastern Europe, where life is truly a little bit harsher, not traumatizing, but harsher, I think they have it too easy here. So they have all the time in the world to stay and contemplate things from if they're traumatized to like what gender they are or if they identify themselves as a chair today or whatever. Going back to trauma, I think that in Romania at least there's I wouldn't say that people are necessarily traumatized. I think people are not free with their emotions enough to process them better. I think that's the problem.
So, in that regards, you handle with coach a lot of men. When your kid actually has a problem in Italy, there is a tendency of the parents to say, "My kid, no, my kid is fine. My kid is okay."
Yeah.
It's a mix of judgment and a very high barrier of accepting what is actually considered something that needs attention or not. Does it make sense? Well, here I see the total opposite. I believe that here, like thinking about mental issues, depression and stuff, I feel that many times when depression is diagnosed, it's normally just a bad period of your life that everybody has. While in Italy, when you have actual depression, it's not diagnosed. It's like there's a miscalculation on both sides. One is it's too extreme, which is like consequence of high judgment of what will my friends say if my kid has this issue, and the other one is how do I make the most profit out of the American healthcare system? So that's my point of view, pretty much. So I'm not saying no one of the two is the best. I think that we were blessed because we live in both, so we see the difference in the two. But yes, what do you think on that regard? Overdiagnosing, people overseeing something negative as something that is structural and not temporary.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pill slinging here in America, a lot of misdiagnosis, quite honestly. Um, the psychiatric system, in my opinion, is very regimented and analytical, and it doesn't take into, in my opinion, it doesn't take into some of the somatic effects that are happening with people, right? Going through those periods, right? Feeling a little,
be somewhat traumatic too sometimes.
sure,
Mamma mia, my first house I ever flipped. Holy shit, I wanted to die in that.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and a business deal goes bad. Like I've been down, right?
Yes.
And somebody, take me out of that point in time, put me in a psychiatrist's office, and be like, oh, you need 800 pills, and you're severely depressed and borderline suicidal, right?
Yeah.
But is that me? No.
No.
But people latch on to these moments so intensely.
Why do we do so? If somebody tells, like if an expert tells us, you're depressed, you need this, why do we latch on that so much?
Part of it is a sense of identity, I think, right? Somebody, and in identity, you can have power over people. I can't do this because
You're opening up a can of worms here. I like this. Go on.
I can't do that because I have this diagnosis. I work with some guys that they come in, they're like, I'm on the spectrum. And I'm like, hold on a second. You're a guy that codes. You're super intelligent. And I know in your little world that it's cool to be more autistic and on the spectrum than the next guy. I'm like, so don't bring that shit in here. I just know that you're a super smart dude and that you have some social issues, and I can help you with that. And so by the time I get them out of their head, more grounded, thinking for themselves and away from that identity of being diagnosed, the more real they really are. And so people use this as a form of identity and a form of power over other people.
And it also gives them a purpose. They're like, oh, I live for this and a meaning. Oh, because most of them have a boring life, meaningless for the most part. And so when they finally have something to live for, a goal, hey, I need to fulfill my destiny of being ADHD or whatever they diagnosed, they start living for that, and that's how the identity comes that he was talking about.
Identity, perks, things.
Yeah. So
for me, it's an excuse.
It is an excuse.
So I know that I'm factually wrong on this. It is factually wrong what I'm about to say.
Perfect.
Factually, like, do not take this. It's scientifically incorrect. The thought of giving the responsibility over my life over an external factor, I do not accept.
No.
I do not accept. Like, it may be a very bad trait of myself. I literally blame myself for everything that happens in my life. Like, I forget shit. The other day, my sister was trying to find something that apparently I took and I used, but I did not remember I did. Instead of saying I have ADHD, it's like, yep, I was like, yeah, I forgot. I'm a fucking dumbass. It's
okay. We have those three things, right? We have our internal domain, our emotional internal domain, and then we have those foreign factors, those things outside of us that you're talking about. That I personally refuse, and you personally refuse to let those things affect me in a negative way. And then we have what I like to call masculine virtus, which is the ability to handle both and not let them affect either way too much, but more in that kind of center road of living, right? Where, yeah, we might get emotional when a business deal goes bad, or somebody breaks up with us, or somebody says something, negative toward us, but we're not harboring it to a damaging point. We're like, yeah, this hurts, but whatever, I'll get over it, right? And the other thing is being able to not let the foreign factors take over our emotional peace and destroy us from the inside.
yeah. Once you accept it, it starts destroying you for sure.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it becomes very real at that point, and then you can identify with it, and then you can make it into this thing bigger than it really was. And kind of jumping back to your point about diagnosis, I was diagnosed ADD when I was young, and my mother brought me home from the doctor. She set me down. She's like, "You will not be on medication. Figure it out."
I mean, how did we do it for the past 3,000 years? Come on.
Yeah, exactly. And
I understand sometimes it's clinical, but
Sure.
like
in the sense that there's this aspect of today's day, and so we are scientifically not evolved mentally and physically to cope with all the fast change in the amount of information that comes our way. However, some people can deal with that, some people can't. So that's like the modern day disease, that's how they call it, where people can't just cope with the amount of waterfall of things and information comes their way, and that's how they become a little bit troubled. However, again, it can be an excuse or it can be a reason to keep growing.
people tell me 20% of what was it? 25% of young people have ADHD. It's like, yeah, but what's their watch time on TikTok?
Yeah.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Like, when I spend 2 hours on TikTok, I become brain stupid.
yeah,
It's
exactly.
like, take it away for 1 week. Trust me, your attention will
Fine.
come back. Holy
Yeah.
shit, Madonna Santa. But that's my point of view, of course, not clinical.
And here I am reading books.
Huh?
Here I'm reading 500-600 pages books.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
One
One extreme to the other.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how many touches now do you need to make a sale online? It's something like over 200.
Touches.
Yeah, like points of contact where you're interacting with your audience and selling something.
Yeah.
It's
So many.
they need to see like 200, 300 times before they're going to buy anything from it.
Yeah.
And that has increased rapidly with TikTok coming on board.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite as bad. It was like 60-ish, Instagram and Facebook and YouTube days, but like, man, TikTok's taking it to a whole new level.
Yeah, make it with Italian audience. Trying to sell a course to Italians that actually helps. Mamma mia. Ooh, a million touches that. Are you sure? Are you sure?
Oh, yes.
Madonna Santa. Okay, we're gonna finish it here. 3 advices, towards men. 3 main things. Like, what are the 3 things that a man need to actually help his life? And 3 things for a woman. And I apologize that today I asked those questions.
I know, he's fascinating, isn't he?
Well, one of the things that I really like to see men do, and that's a helpful tool both for the mind and just keeping things in check, is a grounding, where they're grounding and centering themselves. So that allows them to handle those huge emotional hits, business deals going bad, girl breaking up with them, things not going right at their job. If they settle themselves, ground themselves, kind of root themselves into the ground, that helps them calm down that nervous system a lot, keeps the emotions in check. And I think that's a really powerful tool that men need to learn, and it's very useful, especially even in sales negotiations or negotiations. Like, think of the person that is all spun up emotionally in the boardroom, right? Nobody's really listening to that guy.
Yeah.
The guy that's sitting there calm and directed and doing what masculine men do, which is lead the charge. People are going to follow that guy. They're going to listen to him. The second thing is love yourself. Love who you are as a man. A lot of men today hate the fact that they're men, hate the fact that they have to do manly things. And don't fight that. That is part of who we are as men. Embrace taking care of your lady, your family, doing a great job at whatever it is that you do, your career. And then, the final thing is, if you have a lady in your life, if you have a family in your life, make sure they are well taken care of and emotionally and protected. And I mean, what else do we need to really do as men, right? Go make a lot of money too.
I think that's a consequence of it. The more your turn.
So first and foremost, they need to learn who they are and what they truly want, regardless of what age they have. What the age they have. Because you might have women in their 30s, oh, I know who I am and what I want, but ask yourself, why do you want what you want? Who you truly are and why you are that person. What sparks you in life. And not because of what society taught them, what family taught them, what friends expect of them, but what is truly them. Next.
Is that hard to do? No, put yourself in the pants of the average woman, because you're being pumped with a lot of information from the outside. You think that on average it's hard to do?
Yes.
Okay.
It's easy in today's world to get yourself lost in the guidelines of social media of how to live life and so on and so forth, and trying to be interesting and cool and thinking that because I have all my travel photos, I'm always on travel. Just live life the way you think it should be lived and the way it brings value to you, not to your audience or all that. Second, don't, and that goes for both men and women, don't find your value and your worth as a human being in your relationship and your partner. Your value should come independent from that. Your value should come from inside, from who you are, what you can do, what are your values, and what you bring out into the world from that. I think most people get lost in their relationships, and when they fail, they lose themselves because they never had themselves.
Okay.
And for the ladies, it's just like there's so much, but let's
This
go with.
goes pretty much both ways, honestly.
Yeah, it does.
Both ways.
Yeah. I would say if you have a partner, don't treat him like another woman. Don't expect him to listen to 3 hours of chattering before you get to the point. Like make the point faster. Just understand that they cannot do it. It's not in their way of functioning. Women do that.
I'm reading this beautiful book that is called Men Are From Mars, Women From Venus.
Yes.
Oh, I haven't read that one. Is it right?
What you just said.
Get to the point, right? That's the way.
We should do our part 2 on being better at listening. But if you can help us too, it will be beautiful.
And then, I don't need to tell you like how Miranda did whatever to me to get the point of, oh, I'm having a bad day.
Yeah.
And then the other thing it goes together with this is it goes both for men and women. When you're coming to your partner with something, a problem or something, say, hey, I either need you to just listen or to help me fix it. Just say it. I'm coming.
That helps so much.
Yeah, like
I when I talk to my sister, for example, or at the time to my ex, same thing. Do you want to be listened, or do you want an answer?
hear so much, and most of the times women just want to be listened to. Most of the times, they just want to vent.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
generally.
Be heard and get into that safe
Yeah,
container that I was talking about. Yeah.
So in very very short, because there's so much to get into when it comes to women, and vice versa. But yeah, in short, those would be the three things away.
I've got a fourth for you.
Go for it.
So, guys, this is probably one of the greatest things you can do for yourself, and that is take risks. That's how you grow as a man. That's how you're going to find out what you're made of, who you are, and what you're really about. I mean, you're taking risks all the time with motorsports and real estate. I'm doing the same. So, and TikTok. I mean, that's a huge risk.
Sometimes not sometimes, like twice a week I question my choices, but I'm happy about it.
It's all good.
Ragazzi,
I think it's okay.
grazie mille.
Grazie.
Grazie mille.
Bravissimi. You got it.